Hi everybody, Mrs. Bolin here, and we're going to take a look at Learning Target 6.3. I can apply exponent properties involving powers of powers. And so when you look at today's examples, you'll see that we have something being raised to a power times a power. And so that's what we're talking about when we say powers of powers. So our power rule, to write it generically, we have some base raised to a power. So we could say base A raised to the exponent m, and then it's being multiplied by another exponent. So it's like you have exponents here being multiplied together. When this is the case, we will keep our base A and we will multiply these exponents. So we would do m times n. We can make a note here that we multiply exponents. So that's what we do when we have powers of powers. We will multiply the exponents. Our directions say to simplify and that our answer should contain only positive exponents. So if we look at example 1, I have 3 to the third power raised here to the second power. So I will have to distribute this exponent here, this squared. You can think of it like that. So really here I'm doing 3, my base is 3, and I'm doing 3 times 2 for my exponent. Or in other words, I'm doing 3 to the 6th power. And this really means I'm going to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 6 times. Or you can go to your calculator and you can do 3 raised to the 6th power. When we do that, we would get 729. So this first example, we have no variable. We just got number, 729. On example 2, you'll notice we do have a variable. So here this is saying 3 to the first power. Like in example 1, this was 3 to the third power. If there's no power here, that's like saying 3 to the first power. So I'm going to have to distribute this third power here to the 3 and to this variable term here, this x squared term. So I'm going to do 3 raised to the third power, and then I'll have x, and here I've got x squared times, or raised to the third power, so I need to do 2 times 3, which is 6. This piece I can do in my calculator. This is again 3 times 3 times 3, or in your calculator you could do 3 raised to the third power, and you would get 27, and then we'll still have x to the 6th power. If we look at example 3, I've got coefficient, a number here, -2. I will distribute this third power to the -2, and I will also distribute it to the p. So I'm going to have -2 raised to the third power. Notice I'm putting the -2 inside parentheses, and this is very important when you go to type it into your calculator, because I'm not just doing 2 raised to the third power. If you don't put parentheses here, that's what your calculator will do. Your calculator will do 2 raised to the third power, and then it will attach the negative. We want to cube this whole number, -2. We want to do -2 times -2 times -2. -2 to the third power. I also have to distribute the third power to the p. So here I'll end up with p to the third. I can do -2 to the third power in my calculator, and I'll get -8 p to the third. And on my last example here, before some u-tries, I now have actually 2 variables, so I need to distribute this 4th power to the coefficient, to the x's, and to the y's. So I have to distribute it everywhere. So I'm going to have 3 to the 4th power, x to the 4th power raised to the 4th power, so 4 times 4 is 16. And then for my y's, 3 times 4 is 12. The only piece I can do in my calculator is 3 raised to the 4th power. That gives us 81. So I have 81, x to the 16th, y to the 12th as my final answer. All right, so at this time, you actually have 6 U-tries. So you're gonna go ahead and see what you can come up with. Go ahead and pause the video. Here are my answers to the U-tries. On the first U-try, when you ended up doing 4 to the 20th power in your calculator, you probably noticed that you got an extremely large number. Probably said 1 point something, and maybe your calculator was saying e to the something or times 10 to the something. It was a huge number, and so you can just leave this as 4 to the 20th power. The second one, I got 81 u to the 8th, negative 27 x to the 3rd, 16 u to the 8th, v to the 6th, negative v to the 3rd, u to the 12th. You have to be careful here. This negative is really a -1, so we were doing -1 to the 3rd power. And on the last one, I got 8x to the 9th, y to the 6th. On the back side, we're going to do just a few more examples, and it's not that they're necessarily any harder. We're going to follow the same steps. We just will see that now there's more variables involved. That's the only difference. So here I can see I've got 3 variables, x, y, and z. I've also got my coefficient out front, but I'm going to do the problem the same way. I've got powers of powers, so I'm going to distribute this second power to the coefficient, to the x's, to the y's, and to the z's. I have to distribute it everywhere. So I will get -4 raised to the second power times x raised to the second power times y, doing 3 times 2 to get 6. And then for my z's, here I also have 3 times 2 to get 6. And then the only piece that I need to do in my calculator is this -4 squared, or this is like saying -4 times -4, and I'll get 16. So I have 16x squared, y to the 6, z to the 6 as my final answer. On example 6, I need to distribute this third power to the 4, to the m's, to the p's, and to the q's. So I have 4 to the 3rd power, m to the 3rd power. For my p's, 4 times 3 is 12. For my q's, 3 times 3 is 9. So I can take care of this in my calculator. 4 to the 3rd power is 64, m to the 3rd, p to the 12th, q to the 9th. Example 7, I'm going to distribute the 4th power to my coefficient, my m's, my p's, and my n's. So I'll have -3 to the 4th power. Again, I'm raising not just 3 to the 4th power, but -3 to the 4th power. So I have to put this -3 inside parentheses, and I have to type it inside parentheses when I put it in my calculator. I'll have m to the 4th power, p to the 4th power, and then for my n's, I have 3 times 4, which gives me 12. -3 to the 4th power gives me 81, m to the 4, p to the 4th, n to the 12th. And last example for today, I need to distribute my 3rd power to the coefficient, the p's, the q's, the r's. So I have -3 raised to the 3rd power. Again, I'm putting -3 inside parentheses, and I will type it inside parentheses in my calculator as well. I'm doing p 2 times 3 gives me 6, so p to the 6th. Q 2 times 3 gives me 6. And then for r, I'll just have r 3rd. -3 raised to the 3rd power gives me -27. P to the 6th, Q to the 6th, r to the 3rd. Alrighty, to wrap up our notes, you have 6 more U-tries. Go ahead, pause the video, and see what you come up with. On first U-try, I got -8, a to the 12th, b to the 9th, c to the 6th. 16, m squared, n to the 6th, p to the 4th. M to the 4th, p to the 4th, n to the 16th. 16, q to the 4th, r to the 6th, s squared. Last two, 8y to the 3rd, z to the 3rd, x to the 9th. And lastly, p to the 4th, n to the 16th, n to the 8th.